Peace, everyone. Kae'z here with the Child Support Injunction course. Uh, on this course, I will be going into greater detail on how to complete the process of your child support injunction, as well as giving information on why the process works and the violations in which it incurs as it pertains to your consumer rights as well as your human rights. Okay. First of all, child support is a contract that you have been fraudulently entered into. However, the term you should be taken loosely as it applies to your straw man corporate fiction name. Okay. Um, for whatever reason, that your spouse or your loved one, the child, the parents of your child, if they receive any benefits such as food stamps, housing, Medicaid, or Social Security benefits, if they had benefits, pay for the child labor, et cetera, et cetera. When they complete those applications, they go into contract. In turn, the fictions come after you, okay? Or not the fictions, but the corporations come after you. The U.S. corporation comes after you. The reason that this is a violation of your consumer laws is because they use threatening and harassment, as well as they imprison people for debt. Debt is not a crime. Debt is not harming anyone. First of all, the Child Support Enforcement Agency throughout the globe are funded by the Social Security Department, okay? These Social Security departments give these different entities grants to basically set up fake courts, hire fake agents that they consider honors, bring you into fraudulent contracts, and also fund fake peace officers, which are child support enforcement officers. Those officers who are picking you up and taking you into the who are kidnapping you basically on the means of child support are not even licensed certified peace officers. They have been brought into training. Okay. Another reason that this is a violation is because the Child Support Enforcement Act is a form of the legislative branch. Therefore, there is a violation with the separations of power. Okay. No entity within a certain capacity can act out of that range. In this case, the Child Support Enforcement Agency is acting as the judicial branch. And so what you will see is that when you try to submit this document to your judicial courtroom where cases generally take place, they will tell you that they can't accept it. The reason that they're going to tell you that they can't accept it is because this is not a crime. This is not a judicial case. They are acting out of the capacity in which they have the rights to do so. Okay. So therefore, I'm going to go into we're going to review we're going to review this affidavit, which is the child support injunction. Which is an unrebutted affidavit. It goes into the Truth in Lending Act. And another reason that you are that this is a violation and that you are being violated against is because they are not allowing you the right for due process. The Constitution states that every person has the right to due process, meaning you have the right to defend yourself. With these child support cases, they simply the parent of the child simply applies for benefits, and then they will put you on a case, and they are also taking your DNA. But in the sense of, I like to make sure that you know that this contract is between your corporate fiction and these departments. Therefore, it is important that you correct your status throughout this process in which I do provide you the affidavits. So let's go ahead and move along. As you can see here, you're going to complete this template accordingly. I get so many people that act as though they don't understand how to complete a template. So I'm going to show you guys. This process also comes, this affidavit also comes with instructions, because you have to put several different entities on notice, starting with the friends of the court. Everything is about verbiage, people. Why is it that the Child Support Enforcement Agency is not ran by the court? All cases are deemed through the friends of the court. The key word is the friends of the court. That means that they are not, in fact, the judicial system, okay? So as you can see, you're going to put your account number, you're going to apply your case number, you're going to put the alleged balance, okay? Now, as you can see, comes now, living soul, the natural living flesh and blood man or woman, okay? A peaceful sovereign of the land under oath who states that the following information is of his own knowledge and belief. This is a legal notice of a billing error. I dispute the validity of this alleged debt. I accept your offer for verification and per the Truth in Lending Act at 1 through 5 USC subsection 1601 through 1667F. I demand that you send verification and validation of said alleged debt. Verification is only an affidavit, oath, or disposition by a person signed under penalty of perjury. Perjury is punishable by imprisonment for 2 to 4 years in the state prison. Send verification to me with your original notarized signature on it. Do not send me copies of fraudulent monthly statements or forged applications and then state you sent me verification. Send me only true, legal, signed, and notarized verification of any purported debt as defined by law in the Uniform Commercial Code and all other legal sources. If you do not respond within 10 days, to validate this alleged debt, it will be accepted as tacit consent and agreement. So that's just how you starting it off, okay? So now you're going to update your living soul name here. Now, based upon whatever state that you are in, you will need to update, you will need to alter the state according to where you live or where you are on child support. The state of, it says Michigan. If you're from California, please be sure to put it right there. Don't just skip through these documents and just fill in the blanks. You need to read it. You have fraudulently entered me into a federally funded contract made between the federal government and state. Child Enforcement Act is not being directly enforced by judicial branch, and it is therefore in violation of constitutional law. Child support enforcement agents are fictitiously acted in the capacity of judges in a fictitious courtroom. This is a problem because all civil and criminal matters must be heard and adjudicated by a judicial branch. Remember, separations of power, Illinois Constitution 1963. The legislative, executive, and judicial branches are separate, and no branch shall exercise powers properly belonging to another. Okay, so that is your argument right there, because it is in fact case, okay? Now we go into the Supreme Court ruled in the remarriage of Sandra Lee Holmberg versus Gerald Holmberg, 1999. You can look this case up specifically and get in-depth details about the case by just simply Googling it. And I think that would be great to provide you with more enlightenment on what exactly it is that you're dealing with. Nonetheless, the administrative child support process created by Minnesota statute subsection 5118, 5511 in 1996 violates the separations of power doctrine by infringing on the district court's original jurisdiction by creating a tribunal which is not inferior to the district court and by permitting child support officers to practice law. Therefore, the statute is unconstitutional. Now, where you see here where it says by creating a tribunal which is not inferior to the district court, that's a violation of the Constitution. That clearly is stated in the Bill of Rights of every constitution. It may be in different articles and different sections, but that is always stated. Okay. As you can see here, affirmed and remanded, heard, considered, and decided by the court in Bonk. Minnesota statute, same one, violates the separation of power doctrine by impinging upon the original jurisdiction of the district court, by creating a tribunal which is inferior to the district court, and by permitting child support officers to engage into practice law. The court's appeals ruled the administrative process unconstitutional, relying on separations of power doctrine. We affirm the Court of Appeals and hold the administrative process is unconstitutional because it violates the separations of power. Okay. Timely and equitable distribution of family financial resources is needed to protect our children's well-being. Thus, the efficient administration of child support cases is a laudable goal. And if you look up how much money each child support enforcement agency is making each year off of fraudulently contracting people into these basically what it seems as if your back's up against the wall situations, they are accumulating millions. Big time millions per year off of child support, and some of which is not even going to the parents because they consider it to be back pay, especially if you've been caught up in the back pay system. Okay. That you'll see a whole lot of it's a lot of scams and schemes going on when it comes to this child support process. That's why I would like to highly encourage you that you should not be deterred, because they are seeing people move forward with these processes, and it hasn't been done because people are learning their laws, they're learning their rights, and they are making sure that they expose those who have been basically infringing upon them for all of these years. So of course they will reject it. Of course they will send it back to you. Of course they will say this is not pliable. They'll try to tell you that it's the wrong department and this, et cetera, et cetera. But it's up to you to be persistent. It's all about what you choose to do and how you choose to do it, and how bad you want this, how bad you want to discharge this debt. Okay. I'll move on down here. That the statute explicitly grants administrative law judges all powers, duties, responsibilities conferred on judges of district to handle support cases. Arguably, administrative law judges are given superior in some respects, as administrative law judges are empowered to modify child support orders granted by the district court, meaning you have fraudulently positioned yourself to reign over real judges. This is the Supreme Court speaking to the Child Support Administration as it pertains to this Holcomb case, letting them know that you guys have put yourself in a position where you are moving, you moving like you are the head honcho when you have in fact no law practice, you have in fact no jurisdiction, you have in fact no authority. So they're telling them you doing more than the real judges. You putting yourself over who's over you. Finally, ALJ's child support orders are given the same difference as district court orders. They are appealable by right and reviewed by the Court of Appeals under a discretion standard. The administrative child support process current structure violates the constitutional constraints on separations of power for three separate and independent reasons. Administrative process infringes on district court's original jurisdiction in contravention of Minnesota Constitution, Article subsection 1. Child support is administrative, not judicial. ALJ's jurisdiction is not inferior to the district court's jurisdiction and mandated by Minnesota Constitution. The administrative process empowers non-attorneys to engage in the practice of law, infringing on the court's exclusive powers to supervise the practice of law. For these three reasons alone, this is unconstitutional. So I'll allow you guys to read this for your own benefit. And what you are going to do here, okay, so as you can see here, as I told you, I'll just touch on this really quick. As I told you, that this is a violation of also your consumer rights, because I know that a lot of people have this on both their credit report and their consumer report. They are kind of having troubles moving forward in certain areas of their life because of this, because of large debt that is shown. Okay. We end this document telling them what we want. Okay. And what you're telling them is that, first of all, I, living soul, now demand that you clear my name from any and all debts. I rescind my name from any and all contracts due to failure to disclose the true intent of these falsified contracts that I entered into without full knowledge of its damages. The state of has committed willful crimes in the state in the name of child support, which is both an indirect violation of my constitutional and consumer rights. Make sure that you update the state. You are in direct violation of 15 U.S.C. 1692, subsection 807, in which it states, a debt collector may not use false, deceptive, or misleading representation or means in connection with the collection of any debt, which includes the false representation or implication that a debt collector is vouched for, bonded by, or affiliated with the United States or any state, including the use of any badge, uniform of assembly. That's the first part. You got fictitious characters dressing up in robes, bringing you into fake courtrooms, sending out fake police officers to pick you up and locking you up. And basically everything is a show. It's a show. It's a whole show that you have subscribed to and entered into contract with, because you have not came forward and corrected your status and deemed yourself a living soul, trustee, and executor over your estate. Okay. Now I've highlighted the ones that really stand out. So we'll go the false representation on number 3, or implication that any individual is an attorney or that any communication is from an attorney. That's a violation. It says clearly from the Supreme Court that you are acting as attorneys when in fact you are acting as attorneys in law when in fact you are not. That's clearly stated. The representation or implication that the non-payment of any debt will result in arrest or imprisonment of any person, or the seizure, garnishment, attachment, or sale of any property, of wages, or of any person, unless such action is lawful and the debt collector or creditor intends to take such action. You don't have no business telling me that you want to take me to jail if I don't pay you a debt. That's not a crime. The threat to take any action that cannot legally be taken or that is not intended to be taken. So, and all of the major ones are highlighted. Once you get this document completed, you want to make sure that you get it notarized, okay? So what you're telling them here in the conclusion of this affidavit, you saying, I do not consent to any unlawful use of my name. And that's all variations on any documents or contracts. I demand you now to cancel all contracts and discharge all debts affiliated with the said account, case number listed above immediately, or I will seek remedy for reputable damages for these criminal acts performed against me by the states of, you will put your state. Now you are referencing the Surrender Mahan case where this man went back and he sued the state of New Jersey and the child support enforcement agencies and everybody who had anything to do with putting him on child support or enforcing child support upon him. And he won this case on a supreme level. This document is submitted, this case. If for those of you who are asking me, can I go back and get my money back? This case will be great research for you to see on how to do that. Because yes, it is very much possible. And this man did it. Okay. So you will notarize this document and you will scan it into your computer, saving it on a flash drive so that you can have the original format. But then you will go ahead and send out the copies to those, and you need to make sure that you address each copy to the department in which it's going to. So if this one is going to the Friends of the Court, that's who you would address it to. If the other one is going to the Social Security Administration, that's who you would address that to. If another one is going to the Department of Health and Human Services, you would address it to specifically those departments. So you will have multiple different copies and variations of this going out to who it is meant for. That will conclude the portion of the reviewing of the child support affidavit itself. The next thing I will be showing you is the document to correct your status, and you will send those documents in with this affidavit, because it's now time for them to see that you are not the corporate fiction character. I'll see you in a minute. Peace, everyone. Kae'z here with the conclusion of the instructions for the child support injunction. I just left off breaking down and explaining the affidavit and the grounds of the affidavit, as it is a violation of the separations of power, etc. Now, these are the affidavits that would be submitted with your non-corporate status. I mean, with your child support injunction, okay? There are actually 3 affidavits, okay? Not only are you going to be submitting these affidavits to the departments in which you have to send your injunction to, but you're also sending these affidavits separately. Well, you can put them all in the same envelope because they're going to, they all of the documents need to go to the same departments. However, you will be sending these to the Secretary of State in where you were born, as well as the Secretary of the United States, okay? All of which documents will need to be notarized, scanned into your computer, saved for your records, put on a flash drive, okay? So I'm just going to review this document. It's relatively brief. As I stated before, it is your straw man in which is in the contract for the child support, okay? So these documents are basically coming forward to correct your status and let them know that the living soul is here, okay? This is the affidavit of claim in non-corporate status concerning the rights of Americans in foreign states under the Expatriation Act. Affiant being of sound mind and competent to make this affidavit with personal knowledge of the facts contained herein in attesting to said facts is in his authorized capacity. The affiant is not a corporation created under the laws of the United States or any state, the District of Columbia, or any territory, commonwealth, or possession of the United States or the foreign state or country, private or public. The affiant is not an officer, agent, shareholder, franchisee, or fiduciary agent, resident, inhabitant, or domiciled in any corporation. The affiant is not a vessel under Chapter 121, Title 46 U.S., or a vessel numbered as provided in Chapter 123. I highly encourage for you to go look up these chapters so that you can have a broader understanding on what exactly it is they're saying, or what exactly it is this affidavit is stating. That affiant is not an enemy of the United States or any corporation created under the laws of the United States or any state, District of Columbia, so on and so forth. Any presumption that the affiant is any of the above or documentation implying any of the above is not the act or intent of this affiant, and any such presumptions or documentation is fraudulent, illusionary, false representation of a matter of fact, or kind of artifice employed by one person to deceive another for self-serving purposes. The affiant is neither affiliated with the enemy or of any public or private corporation, domestic or foreign, but is a neutral body. Number 8, the affiant's name and location of are particularly unique to this affiant, although not affiliated with the corporate body politic near the same location, and it suffices as complete, necessary, and sufficient identification and evidence of affiance neutral standing. 15 USC 1681H. The affiant is a living, breathing man or woman, declared by autograph in my own handwriting that the following facts are true in the best of my knowledge and belief. I hereby deny that the following corporation exists: United States and all other corporate members who are or may be associated with any complaints against my natural body. Further, I do solemnly attest that the foregoing facts contained herein are true and correct and complete to the best of my knowledge and the belief under the penalty of perjury accordance with the law. So you're going to get this document notarized, okay? And remember that you don't sign until you get into the presence of your notary. Make sure that you date this document. Right here in red, you can see that you will need to put your all caps birth name, as you are the attorney in fact, the sole beneficiary of the all caps name. So like I said, you will send this to the not the Social Security Department, or these goes to the Social Security Department, of course. You submit this with your injunctions, as well as you will submit them to your Secretary of State of both the United States and where you were born. Now, when you submit these affidavits to the Secretary of State, to the both Secretary of States, you do not need to send your child support injunction. The child support injunction should only go to the departments specified. These injunctions, as far as correcting your status, do not submit your child support injunction to the Secretary of States, okay? All right, that will conclude the review of the non-corporate status affidavit, and we'll be moving on to the next. Peace to all. This is the conclusion of the review for the course of the child support injunction. This is another affidavit that will be submitted with your child support injunction to the departments that have been specified, as well as to the Secretary of State, okay? This notice of sovereignty is also a copyright notice, as you are trademarking and copywriting your name, as well as the child that is the case is about, okay? Now, this document can be filed with the county clerk, okay? I have provided a notice to the county clerk affidavit that when you go into your courthouse and you submit this affidavit, you would attach the notice to county clerk, which basically says that if you deny me the right to file this document per my claim, then you are in violation. You can simply review the notice to county clerk that has been provided for you within the packet or within this module, okay? Let's just go right into reading. Be it known to all courts, governments, and other parties that this here will be your name, your living soul name, written in the exact format that you see. You're going to keep the copyright symbol. Am a natural freeborn sovereign without subjects. I am neither subject to any entity anywhere, nor is any entity subject to me. I neither dominate anyone, nor am I dominated. My authority for this statement is the same as it is for all free sovereigns everywhere. The age-old, timeless, and universal respect for the intricate rights, property, freedoms, and responsibilities of the individual. I voluntarily choose to comply with the man-made laws which serve to bring harmony to society, but no such laws nor their enforcers have any authority over me. I am not in any jurisdiction, for I am not of a subject status, consistent with the eternal tradition of natural common law. Unless I have harmed or violated someone or their property, I have committed no crime and therefore am not subject to any penalties. Okay, so I highly encourage you to read this as it goes into how you have, how we have all been entered into these contracts fraudulently and without full consent, without the meeting of minds. And it speaks about the use of fiat. That's a form of a contract because there is no money. It's a falsified form of currency that has no value whatsoever. The use of an identification number, which would be your social security number, the use of a driver's license, license plates, paying tax returns, the birth certificate, marriage licenses, children in public schools, declaration of citizenship, past voter registration, the use of semetics, basically believing that one word means another when in fact it means something else, okay? So you're telling everything that you have engaged in in a fraudulent contract and how you are no longer bound to citizenship because of the use of those things, okay? I have also learned that the rights of a free spiritual being cannot be lawfully limited without consent, as that would imply slavery. Effectively, rights are not bestowed upon one by another unless the first gives his or her consent, or the first is the lawful property of the second, okay? The very nature of this concept of consent is that it can only exist amongst equals with full disclosure and without coercion. Okay, so you are basically coming and telling these contracts are fraudulent. You are correcting your status. And you are also telling them down here, I declare that I am neither a child nor a slave, but a free man or a woman capable of administering my own affairs. Where it is my understanding America is a common law jurisdiction, and where it is my understanding equality before the law is a paramount and mandatory, and where it is my understanding a statute is defined as a legislated rule of society which has been given the force of law, and where it is my understanding a society is defined as a number of people joined by mutual consent to deliberate, determine, and act for a common goal. And where it is my understanding that the only form of government recognized is lawful in, so you would need to change this. This says Australia, so fix that and make that change to America, is a representative one, and where it is my understanding representatives require mutual consent. Okay, remember to change this. Remember to update this. Make sure that you read this. Make sure that you update the name here accordingly. So let's get down into, you're also going to update the name here. Don't just change the name. Make sure that you read it thoroughly. Okay. So as you go, and so it also reads about the liabilities. If they so choose to violate this, there are penalties. Okay. Now this is your common law copyright. As you can see, the individual's name listed on this document is Leith Andrew Carney, which is why you see LAC. Therefore, that will be your initials. These here numbers imply your birth date, your date of birth. However, you are going to submit that with no dashes or anything. You will leave C in there as it is the copyright notice. That's what it stands for. Be sure to erase all instructional information, so you would erase the initial, anything that's giving you direction, please be sure to change it, okay? Your year of birth, the copyright will be your year of birth. You put your living soul name, adjust this accordingly. Like I said, you fill out the template according to the format in which it is shown. You go on with the intent of being contractually bound. Any jurist person, as well as the agent of said jurist person, consents and agrees by this copyright notice that neither said jurist person nor the agent of the jurist person shall display nor otherwise in any manner the common law copyright trademark of your straw man name. Once again, here you update that with your straw man name. Now, you see all of these that you need to update. Here, where it reads about the whole harmless agreement, this is going to be your initials and whatever date that you are completing this form. Okay, whatever date that you are completing this form, and you're going to put the word format of that date, as it says, the 5th day of the 11th month in the year of our Lord 1994. You're going to put, if it's June, you're going to write it out the same format. However, you're going to make sure that you update that year in the date as it is shown. Now you're going to update this here with your straw man format, your living soul format. And it goes into here where it's saying that the self-executing contract security agreement in event of unauthorized use by this copyright by the jurist person and the agent of the said jurist person. Herein jointly and severally user consent and agree that any use of length, carny, other than authorized as set forth above constitutes unauthorized use, counterfeiting the secured party's common law copyright, contractually binds user, and renders the copyright notice a security agreement wherein user is a debtor and living soul secure party is secure party and signifies that the user grants the secure party security interest over the assets, et cetera, et cetera. This is the charges in which you would have incurred if they infringe upon your rights. So you continue to go through and update these changes accordingly. Please read this. I highly encourage you to read this. It is, if you don't read it, then that is solely and solely upon you. Please know what you are filling out. So the record owner will be your information implemented here. And once again, on that footer, you'll update this to your date of birth. This is the original format, which it should be shown the same way. Your initials, your date of birth, copyright notice. Please make sure that you update all the applicable changes in the format that it is shown. Now, here is the copyright for your children, okay? As you can see, Ja Malachite River Miller, those are the initials. Now you might see 29/11/2003. That's because the day of birth is before the month. So for the children, you want to put the day and then the month and then the year with the copyright notice, okay? Their year of common law copyright will be the year that they were born by your name, living soul, okay? May neither be used nor reproduced, neither in whole nor part, nor in any manner whatsoever without the prior express consent and acknowledgement of your name. Okay, because they are falling under your copyright notice. Okay. So you'll go through and it's going to be the same here. This whole harmless agreement will be the day that you have completed this document. Accordingly, fill those out, make sure that you set it up correctly. As you can see, it basically speaks on how they don't have any right to your DNA, et cetera, and your RNA, your feces, your excrement, your other body fluids. They don't have any. You are copywriting everything that is yours, okay? Where you see this here, you're going to make sure that you put your name. Okay, and I just want to come down to this part. So you're going to make sure that you make all the applicable changes per as it's shown. Now, when you get down here to so it's going to be the year of your birth. So that's going to be your name in the year of your birth for the record owner every time, because you are the record owner. You will update the child's name accordingly to as it is shown. And this is, once again, this is still by you holding the same copyright, basically inventory number, if you will. And that's how it would go for all of the children. So there are three children. There are three children affidavits attached here, and they are all done the same way. They all say the same thing. You will just need to go in and make sure that you have all of your numbers, all of your years, and the names and everything set up correctly. Once again, you're going to submit this to both your Secretary of States for the U.S. and the state in which you were born, as well as to the child support agencies in the other states listed, the other departments listed, and make sure that you do save it for your records. And that would conclude the review for the affidavit of sovereignty. Peace, everyone. This is the conclusion of the child support injunction course. This will be the last affidavit that must be submitted. As you can see here, that this document will be filed with your county clerk, okay? As you are surrendering your straw man. All right. You are canceling out that fictitious character and you are letting it be known to the court. This affidavit will also be submitted with your child support injunctions to the instructed entities that is shown to be sent to you, okay? It's a very short document, it's very clear cut. Now, as you can see, you're going to update the changes as it applies to your case. All right. You're going to put whatever county it's for, whatever county clerk. You will put your case number and or any case numbers that are affiliated with your child support, as well as if you have any criminal cases or anything, you would submit this, because right now you're putting the court on notice. You are putting the court on notice that the straw man is null and void, that the living soul is here. And you can also take this a step above the rest, and you can submit this document to the Supreme Court Justice of your state, because you want to make sure that everyone is put on notice. No one knows who you are until you put them on notice, okay? So as it applies, everything that you have done from throughout the course of your journey has been entering into falsified contracts where they have paraded this fictitious character on these bills and on these child support notices and on every violation and made it as if it was you. Okay, so it's all about letting everybody know who you are and what's going to be going on from there forth. And I'll begin to read. Affidavit of fact and surrender of the alleged defendant, legal person, legal entity. You will put your first, middle, and last, which will be your straw man. Comes now the petitioner, first, middle of the family, last to this court, being first duly sworn upon his oath and disposes and says, petitioner, living soul of the family, with is your last name, as a self-aware living man, hereby affirms that I am not the straw man. It is a fictitious entity. I declare that I am your first, middle of the last name, a sovereign, living, and breathing man or woman, and not the legal entity, legal fiction, or the legal person. Okay? First, middle, and last of the straw. I, living soul of the family, last name, the living man or woman on the land hereby surrender, the legal entity. You will put the name and or by way of a certified copy of birth certificate, you're going to put your birth certificate number here, because that is how the corporation fictional character was created, through the form of a birth certificate, okay? To this court, now the number that you would put would read record file number. It will read something along the lines of that. To this court, in order to satisfy this matter, as well as satisfy the warrants for so this basically, if they have any warrants out on you as it pertains to your child support, you would give them this, which is a certified copy, is hereby attached to. Okay, petitioner, you're going to put the name, hereby demands that the court or the presiding judge remove any and all so-called warrants for the living man or woman. The foregoing instrument is being executed under the hand and the seal of a self-aware living man and is voluntary acts of my free will and deed, so help me God. Now, you would get this document notarized. You would make sure that you have this document set up for whatever county or state. Make sure that you just put state. You will leave it as republic. Your first, middle, and last name of. Make sure that you update the year to 2022. And that will pretty much be the gist of this document here. And this document should be kept with you, kept with your records, kept with your files. And basically you have now corrected your status. Okay, so you have let these departments know that you are alive. You are not you have disassociated yourself with any violations that they have bound to your fictional straw man character. Okay. You have now separated yourself. So I say that you must be persistent. You must continue to stay on their necks. If they keep trying to send it back and acting like they didn't get it, you want to send it again. You keep moving up the chain. You begin to direct it. Even if I highly suggest actually that you find the head coordinator or the head of the friends of your court, friends of court in your state, to all of the places where you're supposed to submit your child support injunction. Find the head, direct that document to the head honcho of that department. So you're just going to have to do a little bit of research. Like I say, please be sure to read through your templates. Please be sure to double check and correct. I do offer document review. If you need your documents reviewed after you have completed them, feel free to reach out to info@transitiontofreedom.org. I send all peace and blessings, love and light to you all. That will conclude the course for completing and submitting your child support injunction. Thank you guys and have a wonderful day.